Hey, this is Dennis. In this video, we're going to talk about closing the deal. I'm the kind of guy that likes to stick that flag in the ground. You've heard me mention that before. Closing the deal can be a difficult part of the process. If you do it correctly, you will win most of the time. Nobody's going to close all of them if you are your God, but you're going to close your share plus. Most of the deals we close for shows, booking events are done over the telephone, whether you're prospecting, making the out calls, or the calls are coming in. When the calls come in, hopefully you can close them on the first call. And that's what you really want to do. And that's probably the way you do it now. You probably have a system in place where you ask the right questions, and hopefully you're asking the right questions to make sure you don't leave any money on the table and that you do get the gig in the end. If your phone skills are not good, you want to work on them. You can script them out, or you can just fly by the seat of your pants if you've been doing it for a while. But hopefully there are a few tips here that will help you close a few more deals. This is the most important part. You have to take control of the phone call. Uh, you got to remember that you are selling your show. You are in sales. When that phone rings, you turn on the salesman light because you need to close the deal. And you do that by taking control of the call. You don't want them calling and saying, "Hey, how much do you charge for a show?" They're going to ask you that, but you need to turn the conversation and start asking the questions yourself. And if sure you don't want to be rude, but you just want to show them that you are in command. You are the judge. You're the decision maker. So you need to take control of the call as soon as you possibly can. Like I said, you want to ask the questions. There are hundreds of questions you can ask, and you don't want to just be going through a list, but they'll probably tell you a little bit about what's going on, what type of event it is, and they'll give you the date and the time. And then before you give your price, before you quote your rates, you need to have the information, okay? Because some of the questions you might ask is, how many people will be at the event? How many people are you expecting, or how many people are invited? Uh, what the room, what venue, where's it going to be at? Is it going to be in a banquet room at a hotel? Is it going to be in a theater? Is it going to be uh, in a hallway doing strolling magic? You want to find out where it's at, because a lot of times these people they don't know what you do. They don't know that you might offer different forms of entertainment, whether it's strolling magic, stage magic, just a stand-up parlor type show, or mentalism, or balloon animals, or whatever it is you do. Now's a good time to find out all you can about what they need. That way you can sell that particular service to them. If it's a school show, you'll find out if it's in the classroom, or it's in the gymnasium, or in the theater, or in the cafeteria. That could be anywhere, or it could be off location, at a different place. So find out where it's going to be and how many people are going to be there, because you want to make sure you're quoting the right program for them. If there are going to be 500 people there, you're not going to walk around and do strolling magic and where you can get all, entertain every single one of them in an hour or 45 minutes. That's just not going to happen. And what you can do, you can find out what the evening is, what they have planned for the evening. When is it going to start, and what other entertainment or programs are they going to have? In the corporate world, a lot of times they have speeches or different programs by leadership in the company, or an awards banquet where they might recognize different people. There might be having slideshow presentations, and where they might have a band and music, or a DJ. There could be all kinds of different things going on. And when if you've been in this any time at all, you know that a lot of times you arrive at an event and they might have you performing while the music's going, or while the DJ is playing, or even worse, right in front of the band. So you need to ask these questions to so you can visualize what type of show you can do. You want to find out, besides where it's at, how many people, what's the event about, why are they having it, and what other entertainment they're having. Are they having any other entertainment as far as music or other magicians? They might be hiring 5 or 6 other magicians. You'll find out if you ask. Um, if it's they're going to have dinner, then they might have a speaker after dinner, then they might have you go on. That's kind of typical. And a lot of times these speakers seem to take longer than they have planned, and dinner takes longer than it's planned. And you have an agreement where you're supposed to go on at 8 o'clock, and all of a sudden it's 9 o'clock and you're still not on stage. So you have to plan for this stuff a little bit, and when you ask the right questions you can kind of build that in. Not that you're going to charge them for every extra minute or whatever, but you'll know not to book another show on top of that and cut your time short. So that's very important. So we know how many people are going to be there. We know who's going to be performing, where the event's at, what the cause is. And you might ask them how they got your information. Where did they find you? Whether it's on the internet or a referral. Well, they say, well, Mr. Jones had you last month at their event. So if Mr. Jones told them about you, you're pretty sure that Mr. Jones told them how much they paid you. So you have that information. You have that in your tool belt too. And if they're calling to ask, if they just want you, okay. You can get more money. If they're calling, hey, my boss called and told me to hire a magician for this event, and I'm just calling everybody and trying to get the best price. That's probably not a show that you really, really want to try to do. Sometimes it's a no-win. The cheapest rarely wins on these because it's a catch-22. If you know their shopping price and you quote them a low price, number one, you're not going to make much money, and number two, they're not going to expect too much out of you, so they're not going to treat you like royalty. So the more you charge, definitely the better you're going to be treated. And on the other side of the coin, they might call and say, hey, my boss saw you in an event, he told me to call and book you no matter what the price is. Boy, that's an easy one to book, right? All of a sudden your fees go up a little bit. So the more information you have before you even quote your price, the better off you are, because they might have a something on their mind where they want somebody just to stroll around and entertain guests while they're waiting in line for dinner, and they might want to hire you, for 3 hours for that when really an hour will take care of it. So the more if you're doing strolling magic, you can book 3 or 4 hours, but you have to have people there to perform for. And if it's a stage show, a lot of times they might want a 90-minute show or a 2-hour show, just knowing that that's just way too long for most of these events. You don't want to you're better off working a little bit short than working over, because people just don't want to stay out that late and keep their kids out and their families out and everything else. So the more you do this, the more you'll be able to read these phone calls and read between the lines what they're telling you, where you can close the deal and of course get the proper money for the show. So anyway, once you get the information, then you take your rate card, your handy dandy rate card, out of your pocket, and start working. You can quote the rates, but first, you definitely want to check your availability. You want to make sure you're available. And there's a cool way of doing this too. I mean, you can, if you're wanting to close it on this first call, there's a couple different ways you can play it. You could, when a call comes in, I'm always busy that day. Okay, I'm always busy, especially if a call comes in 2 or 3 weeks out. You better be busy, because if you're not, they're going to think, well, this guy's has nothing going on that day, we can get him on the cheap. So you know the time already, okay, and you know the date, so you're going to check your availability, and you might have something bumping right up against that time. and say, well, I do have something, but I can possibly, I can move something a little bit, but I should be able to accommodate your show. And so let's talk about money now. You see what I'm saying there? So that it's just helping me keep my rates up. But like I say, I've got my rate card out, and I know what show that I'm going to pitch to them, whether it's just a stage show or close up or walk around or whatever. I know that if I know what the when they explain the event, I know that a 30-minute show is probably going to be great, or a 45-minute show might work well too. And I'm building in to my rates that I'm probably going to be there an hour longer than they're telling me to. And so if it's an out of town gig, you got to think about, you know, how you're going to get there, whether you're going to fly or you're going to drive, whether they're going to put you up uh, in a hotel, they're going to get you back and forth. And if you're lugging a bunch of stuff, you might have to ship, 5,000 pounds of illusions. You got to build all this stuff into your pricing. But anyway, so you check your ability, and then you want to sell your show a little bit. Now if they're calling just for you, it's a little bit easier. If they just want you, I mean, don't oversell, don't lose the sale by bragging on yourself, but you can explain the benefits of hiring you, hiring your brand. And that comes in when they are shopping, they are going to be talking to other acts, or they already have been talking to other acts. So then what you want to do is just quote your fee, and hopefully you get a yes right away. Okay, hopefully you're dealing with a decision maker, and sometimes they will tell you they're decision maker until you tell them the price, and all of a sudden they're not the decision maker. Okay, but so you want to quote your fee. Let's just say it's $1,000, and if they agree to it, you've got a deal. Okay, but that's when you can get the commitment. You can pencil it in until you have the contract signed. You'll leave that space open for them for 24 hours until you can get that contract faxed over and back, whether you're going to take a deposit or not. It's a good time for an upsell too, and this is a good time to if they've got you after dinner and for $1,000 for the show, say, hey, I can come a little bit earlier and entertain the crowd while they're mingling, while they're having a few drinks, and I can do maybe an hour and a half of this for an extra $500. And you never know. You've got to ask, do you want fries with that? They say no. If not, no big deal. You're out nothing. You still have your show, and and then you can upsell them again. If they want that extra 2 hours, and if they're really excited about that, then you might explain that, hey, do you have people, if it's at a resort or at a hotel, there's going to be probably some of the high brass up in the hospitality suite staying. Say, hey, I can, and if you'd like, after my show, and when things are winding down a little bit, I can go up and do a little private show for some of the leadership in the company. And this is a great way to really let the big boys know who you are, and get your name out to them, and make sure they all have your business cards and everything else. And you can add another 500 of that, so you might turn $1,000 show into a $2,000 show just with upsells. And of course, if it's a type of event where you can sell any of back of room products like we talked about the other day, you need to get permission to do that now, because that's another income stream for you, and whether you might make another $500 selling back of room products, 500 or more really. So so you never stop the upsell, and so anyway, that's what you want to do. You want to get your deposit. Some people don't use deposits, take them, some do. It just all depends. If it's somebody that I have not worked with and nobody that I know has worked with them, I will usually request a deposit, especially if it's more than 2-3 weeks out. If it's pretty, if it's coming up pretty quick, I can usually and I don't have to travel too far, I can usually waive the deposit. And but always have something in writing, an agreement in writing, even if it's just an itinerary by email with the agreement with the numbers. Okay, so like I say, even if you don't have time to get the contract signed, or you don't think it's absolutely necessary to get the contract signed, just have your itinerary in email with the amounts and stuff like that. But where the way the contract really helps you is, if something happens, whether you get sick or they cancel the event. or they find somebody else or whatever. I mean, once you got that contract, you're kind of locked into it. So if you're doing your own contract, you always want to build in what we call a weasel clause. And what it is a way for you to weasel out if you have to. Okay, and in this case, we booked the show, but let's say 30 minutes later, the phone rings and say, "Hey, Dennis, this show we talked about last month. It's finally came through. Everything's signed. It's ready to go. We want you on it. It's going to pay $4,000. And boom, well, wait a minute. I just booked something for 1,000. So if you have that contract and with the weasel clause in it, you can supply them with somebody else, that will do a great show for them. So, and the good thing about that too, not only can you supply them with someone else, you can also make a referral fee or a commission off of that too. And if you do that, I suggest that you take care of this right away, and don't wait till a week before and switch out on them. I mean, let them know right away and take care of them and follow up after the show. Make sure they were happy with the show. Keep their contact information. They go into your sales funnel, so maybe next year you can be the performer. Okay, so just because you farm that out to another performer, you don't lose that contact. That contact does not belong to the person you sent out to them. So, and you have to have that agreement with the person you send out to. So, it gets kind of tricky sometimes, but if you use good business sense, if you're fair and you're honest, you shouldn't run into this problem very often at all. Get your contract signed, like I said, and that's it. So, this is this part of selling the show.